Arrived at my beach house with rental agents and discovered my son-in-law vacationing with his mistress, supposedly on a work trip. He sneered, "Tell my wife if you want. She's too scared to leave me." I nodded slowly and made one call. Not to my daughter, but to someone who would destroy him. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. But let me back up and tell you how I got to that moment. Standing in my own doorway, watching my daughter's world crumble before she even knew it. The October sun was warm on my face as I pulled into the driveway of my Myrtle Beach house. Two rental agents chattering excitedly in the back seat about staging and market potential. I'd been dreading this moment for weeks, but Frank's medical bills had drained our savings, and even 3 years after his passing, I was still drowning in debt. "Mrs. Walsh, this property is absolutely stunning," gushed Jennifer, the younger agent, her stilettos clicking on the wooden deck. "Oceanfront, 3 bedrooms, that gorgeous wraparound porch. We'll have no trouble finding buyers." I fumbled with my keys, hands shaking slightly. This house held 40 years of memories. Frank proposed to me on this very deck. Katie took her first steps in the living room. But memories don't pay bills, and at 64, I needed to be practical. "The master bedroom has that incredible view," I said, pushing open the front door. Frank always said he wanted to wake up to the ocean. Every eye stopped mid-sentence. There were voices coming from upstairs, male and female, talking softly. Check if you're subscribed to the channel and write in the comments where you're watching this video from. We love to know how far our stories are reaching. Blood ran cold. "Is someone supposed to be here?" asked Robert, the senior agent, checking his phone. I shook my head, motioning for them to stay back. The voices were clearer now, coming from my bedroom. A man's deep laugh followed by a woman's giggle. My heart hammered against my ribs as I crept up the stairs, the old floorboards betraying my presence with soft creaks. The bedroom door was slightly ajar. Through the gap, I could see movement on my bed. My grandmother's quilt tangled around 2 figures. The man's back was turned to me, but I knew those broad shoulders, that perfectly styled dark hair. Michael Crawford, my son-in-law. The woman beneath him definitely wasn't my daughter Katie. This woman was blonde, younger, with perfectly manicured nails that were currently running through Michael's hair. "When do you have to be back?" the woman asked, her voice breathy. "Not until Sunday night," Michael replied, pressing kisses along her neck. I told Katie I had that investors' conference in Atlanta. She never questions my business trips. My vision blurred with rage. Katie was home in Charleston, probably making Michael's favorite dinner for when he returned, while he was here desecrating my marriage bed with his mistress. "Michael Crawford," I said loudly, pushing the door open. The scene that followed would have been comedic if it weren't so devastating. Michael jerked upright, his face cycling through confusion, recognition, and panic in rapid succession. The blonde woman, barely older than Katie, scrambled to cover herself with my quilt. "Mrs. Walsh," Michael stammered, grabbing a pillow to cover himself. "I can explain."
"Can you?"
I crossed my arms, amazed at how calm my voice sounded. "Explain to me why you're in my house in my bed with someone who isn't my daughter." The woman was frantically gathering her clothes. "I should go," she whispered. "Stay right there, Sandra," I said sharply. Her startled expression confirmed what I already suspected. I knew exactly who she was. Sandra Mitchell, the 28-year-old marketing coordinator from Michael's firm. Katie had mentioned her before, how Michael always praised her work. Michael's shock was wearing off, replaced by something uglier. "Look, what Katie doesn't know won't hurt her. This doesn't change anything, doesn't it?" I stepped closer. "My daughter loves you. She defends every late night, every business trip, every time you make her feel small." "Katie's fine," he snapped, pulling on his pants. "She has everything she wants. House, car, that ridiculous shopping habit. She's not exactly suffering." The casual cruelty in his voice made my stomach turn. "She wants your love, Michael. Your respect, your faithfulness." He laughed. Actually laughed. "Faithfulness? Come on, Mrs. Walsh. Katie's gotten comfortable. She stopped trying years ago. Look at Sandra here." He gestured to the trembling young woman.
She appreciates what she has. Get out, I said quietly.
Now wait a minute, Michael said, his tone shifting to that condescending voice he used when he thought he had the upper hand. Let's be reasonable. You need to sell this place, right? I heard Katie talking about your financial situation. Maybe we can work something out. The audacity was breathtaking. Work something out?
Could help with the listing.
Maybe find a buyer through my contacts. For the right price, of course. All you need to do is forget what you saw here. I stared at him for a long moment. This man who had systematically isolated my daughter from her friends, her family, her own sense of worth, who made her believe she was lucky to have him. Or, Michael continued, his voice taking on an edge. You can tell Katie what you saw. Go ahead. She's too scared to leave me anyway. She knows she'll never find anyone else willing to put up with her issues. That's when something snapped inside me. Not broke, snapped into place, like a puzzle piece finally finding its home. You're right, I said calmly. I should tell Katie. Michael's relief was visible. Good. I knew you'd be reasonable. I pulled out my phone, but instead of calling Katie, I scrolled to a different number. One I hadn't used in over 2 years. Wait, Michael said, unease creeping into his voice. Who are you calling? I smiled as the call connected. Hello, Tony. It's Maggie Walsh. Remember how you said to call if I ever needed anything? I paused, watching Michael's face drain of color. Well, I think it's time we had that conversation about Michael Crawford. Michael's arrogance evaporated like morning mist. Who the hell is Tony? I continued my phone conversation, never breaking eye contact with my son-in-law. Yes, the same Michael Crawford we discussed before. It seems my suspicions were correct. I paused, listening. Wonderful. I'll send you the photos in an hour. Photos? Sandra squeaked from behind the bed. I held up my phone, showing them the pictures I'd snapped while they were too distracted to notice. Amazing what these smartphones can capture these days. Michael lunged toward me, but I stepped back into the hallway. I wouldn't if I were you. Tony doesn't like it when people threaten his friends. You're bluffing, Michael said. But his voice shook. You don't know anyone named Tony. The truth was, I knew Detective Tony Russo quite well. He'd been Frank's partner on the Charleston police force for 15 years before Frank retired to become a private investigator. Tony had stayed in touch after Frank's death, checking on me occasionally, offering help whenever I needed it. What Michael didn't know was that Tony had been investigating financial irregularities at Prestige Investments, Michael's firm, for the past 6 months. He'd even asked me if I'd noticed any unusual behavior from Michael, any sudden wealth or expensive purchases that didn't match his salary. I told Tony I hadn't noticed anything, but that was before I found out about the beach house visits, the designer clothes Michael bought Katie on sale, the luxury car he claimed was a company bonus. Pack your things, I told them both. You have 10 minutes before I call the police for trespassing. This is ridiculous, Michael blustered. But he was already grabbing his clothes.
Katie will hear about this.
She'll never forgive you for destroying her marriage. Her marriage was already destroyed, Michael.
She just didn't know it yet.
Sandra had dressed quickly and was edging toward the door. I blocked her path. Not so fast. Sandra, you and I need to chat. I don't have anything to say to you, she whispered. Oh, but you do. See, I know this isn't your first time here. Mrs. Henderson next door has excellent eyesight and a passion for bird watching. She's been keeping track of all the interesting wildlife she spotted from her deck. Sandra's face went white. You don't understand. Michael said he was separated, that he was just waiting for the paperwork to be finalized. Did he now? I glanced at Michael, who was struggling with his shirt buttons. Tell me, Sandra, what else has Michael told you? That his wife was unstable, that she had emotional problems and couldn't handle a divorce right now. Sandra's voice was barely audible. He said he was protecting her. The lies were so ridiculous, I almost felt sorry for the girl almost. Sandra, honey, my daughter, is a pediatric nurse who volunteers at the animal shelter on weekends. The only thing she can't handle is a husband who lies to her face every day. Michael finished dressing and stormed toward me. You're going to regret this, Maggie. Katie depends on me. Without me, she's nothing.
We'll see about that.
He pushed past me, Sandra trailing behind like a lost puppy. I followed them downstairs where the two rental agents stood frozen by the front door, clearly having heard every word. "I am so sorry," Jennifer stammered. "We had no idea." "It's not your fault," I assured them. "Let's reschedule for next week. I have some family business to handle first." After they left, I sat on my deck watching Michael and Sandra load their weekend bags into his BMW. The same BMW, he told Katie, was a company car available only during business hours. My phone buzzed with a text from Tony. "Got your message. Very interesting timing. Can you meet tomorrow? We have a lot to discuss." I typed back, "Absolutely. And Tony, I think I have more evidence than we originally thought." As Michael's car disappeared down the coastal highway, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Purpose. For too long, I'd watched my daughter shrink under Michael's manipulations, had seen her light dim a little more each year. Katie used to be fearless. She'd backpacked through Europe alone, stood up to bullies in school, defended stray animals with the fierce protectiveness of a mother bear. Somewhere along the way, Michael had convinced her that her strengths were weaknesses, that her independence was selfishness.
But I
remembered the real Katie. And tomorrow I was going to start fighting to get her back. I pulled out my phone and scrolled to Katie's number, then hesitated. She deserved to know the truth. But she also deserved to have all the facts. If Tony's investigation had uncovered what I suspected, Michael's betrayal went far deeper than just adultery. Instead, I called my neighbor, Mrs. Henderson. "Dorothy, it's Maggie. I wonder if you might have some time to chat about those bird-watching notes you've been keeping." The conversation that followed confirmed what I already knew. Michael and Sandra had been using my beach house as their private retreat for almost 6 months. Every business trip, every client dinner, every late night at the office. My daughter wasn't just married to a cheater. She was married to a man who was stealing from his own company, using her mother's house as a love nest, and systematically destroying her self-worth. But unlike Michael, I didn't underestimate my daughter. Katie was stronger than he knew. She just needed to remember that strength, and I was going to make sure she did. The next morning, I met Tony Russo at a small cafe near the Charleston courthouse. At 58, Tony still looked like the cop he'd been for 30 years. Alert gray eyes, weathered hands, and an easy smile that made people want to confess their secrets. "Maggie," he stood to hug me. "You look good. How are you holding up?" "Better now," I said, settling into the booth across from him. "Tell me about this investigation." Tony glanced around the cafe, then leaned forward. "Prestige Investments has been under surveillance for 8 months. We have evidence of a sophisticated embezzlement scheme involving multiple employees." My coffee cup trembled in my hands. "And Michael, he's not just involved. Maggie, we think he's running it." The words hit me like a physical blow. Running it. The scheme works by creating false client accounts, making legitimate investments, then skimming the profits before they're reported. The clients never know because their statements show the expected returns. I thought about Katie's new car, their renovated kitchen, the expensive clothes Michael bought her. How much money are we talking about? Close to $2 million over 3 years. My stomach dropped. $2 million. The beauty of the scheme is that it looks legitimate on the surface. Michael has been very careful, but he got greedy. Started living too lavishly. New car, expensive vacations, that renovation on their house. "Katie thinks he got promoted," I whispered. "He did get promoted, but his salary doesn't come close to covering their lifestyle." Tony pulled out a manila folder. "These are financial records we've been able to trace. Credit card statements, bank transfers, property purchases." I flipped through the documents, recognizing locations and dates. The weekend in Napa, $8,000. Katie's diamond necklace, $15,000. The company bonus that paid for their kitchen renovation, $45,000. All of it stolen. "Tony, Katie doesn't know any of this." "We figured as much. Your daughter has a spotless record, and her financial activity shows someone who lives within her means. The expensive purchases all trace back to Michael's accounts. What happens when you arrest him?" Tony's expression grew grim. "That's where it gets complicated. We need more evidence to make the charges stick. Michael has been careful to cover his tracks, and we suspect he's preparing to disappear. Disappear? New identity, offshore accounts. We've seen it before. These white-collar criminals often have exit strategies. I thought about Sandra, about Michael's casual cruelty toward Katie. And he'd leave my daughter holding the bag.
Probably.
Her name is on some of the property purchases, joint bank accounts. Even if she's innocent, she could face charges. The rage that had been simmering since yesterday erupted into white-hot fury. Michael wasn't just betraying Katie emotionally. He was setting her up to take the fall for his crimes. What do you need from me? Access to Michael.
We need him to make a mistake.
Get careless right now. He's being too cautious. I smiled, remembering the arrogance in Michael's voice yesterday. I think I can help with that. Maggie, this isn't a game. If Michael suspects you're working with us, he won't. Trust me, Tony, I know exactly which buttons to push. That afternoon, I drove to Katie's house, my heart breaking as I pulled into their perfectly manicured driveway. The house looked like a magazine cover, all clean lines and expensive landscaping that screamed success. Success built on lies and stolen money. Katie answered the door in scrubs, her blonde hair pulled back in a messy bun. She looked tired, older than her 32 years.
Mom, what a surprise. Come in. Come in.
She hugged me, and I caught a whiff of that familiar scent, the lavender lotion she'd used since college. I was in the neighborhood.
Elite's muesli.
Thought I'd stop by and see how you're doing. I'm good. Tired. Work has been crazy and Michael's been traveling so much lately. She led me into their living room, gesturing to the new furniture. Do you like the sofa? Michael surprised me with it last week. The sofa probably cost more than Katie made in 2 months. It's beautiful, honey. Business must be going well. Oh, yes, incredibly well. Michael keeps getting these amazing bonuses. Sometimes I feel like I'm married to a stranger. This successful, important businessman. Katie's laugh had a hollow quality. Remember when we used to worry about rent money? I remembered. I also remembered the vibrant, confident woman who used to laugh without reservation. Katie, can I ask you something? Of course. Do you ever miss your old life before all this success? Katie's smile faltered. What do you mean? You used to paint. You had that studio apartment with terrible lighting, but you'd stay up until 3 a.m. working on canvases. That was a long time ago, Mom. You were happy. I'm happy now. But she wouldn't meet my eyes. Are you? The question hung in the air between us. For a moment, I saw a flicker of the old Katie, the one who never backed down from difficult conversations. Michael says pursuits are selfish when you're building a life together. She said finally.
He's right.
I need to focus on our future. What about your future, Katie? What do you want? I want what we have. Security, stability, a nice home. Her voice sounded rehearsed, like she'd practiced these words in the mirror. And what does Michael want? Katie's expression shifted, became guarded. Why are you asking me this? Because I love you, and I see how you've changed. People change.
Mom.
They grow up. They realize that dreaming about being an artist doesn't pay the bills. Since when do you care about money? Since I realized how hard life can be without it? Katie stood up abruptly. Would you like some coffee? I just made a fresh pot. I followed her into the kitchen, noting the high-end appliances, the granite countertops, the wine fridge that probably cost more than my car. Katie, if something happened, if everything fell apart, would you be okay? She froze, coffee pot in hand. What do you mean? I mean, are you prepared to take care of yourself? Do you have your own savings, your own plans? Mom, you're scaring me. Is something wrong? Are you sick?
I'm fine, sweetheart.
I just worry about you depending on someone else, so completely. Katie sat down the coffee pot and turned to face me. Michael takes care of me. He makes sure I have everything I need. But what do you need, Katie? Really need? For a moment, her carefully constructed composure cracked. I saw confusion, fear, and something else. A deep, aching loneliness. I need to not worry about money, she whispered. I need to feel safe. I need to know that someone wants to be with me. Oh, honey. I reached for her, but she stepped back.
Don't.
Please don't look at me like that. Like what? Like you pity me. I don't pity you. I'm proud of you. You're smart, talented, compassionate. You could do anything. Be anything. I am something. I'm Michael's wife. The words felt like a slap. This confident, independent woman had been reduced to an appendage, a reflection of someone else's success. My phone buzzed with a text from Tony. We may have to move faster than expected. Can you meet tonight? I looked at my daughter, so fragile despite all the expensive trappings surrounding her. Whatever was coming, it was going to destroy the life she thought she had. But maybe if I was careful, it could also give her back the life she'd lost. That evening, I met Tony at the police station. The fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows across his face as he spread files across his desk. We intercepted communications between Michael and an offshore banking contact. He said, without preamble, he's planning to transfer the remaining funds and disappear within the next 2 weeks. 2 weeks? My heart raced. What about Katie? That's what we need to discuss. Michael has been setting up your daughter as the fall guy for months. Joint accounts, forged signatures, property purchases in her name. Tony showed me documents that made my blood run cold. Katie's signature on investment papers she'd never seen. Her name on bank accounts she didn't know existed. Credit cards opened in her name to fund Michael's lifestyle. She could go to prison, I whispered. Not if we build a case showing she was manipulated. But we need evidence of coercion. Proof that Michael deliberately deceived her. I can get that evidence. Magie, no. It's too dangerous. Check if you're subscribed to the channel and write in the comments where you're watching this video from. We love to know how far our stories are reaching.